Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the New Horizon and stared at the view screen. After 3,000 years, he was looking at Earth again. The small blue dot looked so peaceful from this distance. It was hard to believe that this tiny world had once been home to billions of humans. "Captain, we're receiving data from the long-range scanners," said Commander Lisa Brady. She was the ship's best tactical officer, and Jake trusted her with his life. "Earth is still there, but it's different. The atmosphere readings show it's still breathable for humans." Jake nodded slowly. His great-grandmother had written about Earth in her journals. She had described green forests that stretched for miles, and blue oceans that seemed to go on forever. She had told stories about animals and cities and millions of people living together. But that was before the Zephyrians came. The New Horizon was massive. It was 5 miles long and had been home to over 2 million humans for the past 3,000 years. Jake's family had lived their entire lives on this ship, just like their parents and grandparents before them. They had all dreamed of this moment, the day they would finally return home. "Sir, Dr. Peter Walsh is here to see you," announced Lieutenant. Ryan Bell from his communication station. Dr. Walsh entered the bridge carrying a thick folder of papers. He was the ship's chief scientist and historian. If anyone knew about Earth's past, it was him. "Captain, I've been reviewing all the data. We've collected. The Zephyrians are still there." Jake felt his jaw tighten. The Zephyrians were the aliens who had destroyed human civilization. They had driven humanity from Earth and scattered them across the galaxy. Jake's ancestors had been lucky to escape on one of the few ships that made it out. How many of them? Jake asked. "Based on the energy signatures, I estimate about 50 million Zephyrians are living on Earth now. They've built cities where our cities used to be. They've also been mining the Moon and Mars for resources." Commander Brady stepped forward. "Captain, our intelligence reports from the deep space monitoring stations suggest they've grown soft. They've been living in peace for so long that they've forgotten how to fight real wars." Jake smiled grimly. The humans had not forgotten how to fight. During their long exile, the 12 human colony ships had spread out across different star systems. Each group had developed new technologies to survive. They had shared their discoveries with each other through secret communications. Now they were stronger than ever. "Dr. Walsh, tell me about our advantages," Jake said. The scientist opened his folder. "We have quantum manipulation drives that can bend space and time. Our neural link combat systems let our soldiers think and fight as one unit. But our biggest advantage is our adaptive AI systems. They learn from every battle and get smarter with each fight." "The Zephyrians have nothing like this?" asked Brady. "Nothing even close. Their technology has barely changed in 3,000 years. They think the same way they always have. They can't adapt like humans can." Jake walked to the front of the bridge and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, other human fleets were getting ready for the same mission. The Perth's Dream was approaching from the galactic north. The Boston's Pride was coming from the west. In total, 12 fleets with over 3 million humans were converging on Earth. "What's our current position?" Jake asked. "We're hiding behind Jupiter's radiation shadow," reported Bell. "The Zephyrians can't detect us here. We're completely invisible to their scanners." Jake turned to address his senior staff. "In 6 hours, we launch the first scout ships. They'll head to the inner system and gather intelligence. We need to know exactly what we're dealing with before we make our move." Commander Alex Stone entered the bridge at that moment. He was Jake's oldest friend and the leader of the ship's marine forces. Stone had trained every soldier on the New Horizon. If it came to ground fighting, he would lead them into battle. "Jake, the troops are ready," Stone said. They've been waiting their whole lives for this. Their parents and grandparents told them stories about Earth. They know what the Zephyrians took from us. This isn't just about revenge anymore, Alex, Jake said quietly. This is about proving that humans deserve to exist among the stars. We've survived 3,000 years in exile. We've grown stronger. Now we need to show the galaxy that humanity is back. Dr. Walsh cleared his throat. Captain, there's something else you should know. Our deep space probes have detected something unusual. There are still humans on Earth. The bridge fell silent. Jake felt his heart skip a beat. What do you mean? Energy signatures that match human DNA. Bioscans that show human life forms. Sir, I think some humans never left Earth. I think some of them survived. Jake stared at the view screen again. Earth suddenly looked different to him. It wasn't just a world that had been stolen from humanity. It was a world where humans might still be living. But after 3,000 years under Zephyrian rule, what kind of life could they possibly have? Commander Brady, prepare the scout. Ships, Jake ordered. I want to know everything about what's happening down there, and I want to know it soon. Yes, sir, Brady replied. Jake looked at his crew. These people had trusted him to lead them home. Their families were counting on him to make the right decisions. The weight of 3,000 years of exile pressed down on his shoulders. Everyone knows the plan, he said. We're not here to destroy everything in sight. We're here to take back what belongs to us. But if the Zephyrians want a fight, we'll give them one they'll never forget. The New Horizons engines hummed softly as the great ship moved deeper into the solar system. After 3 millennia of wandering the stars, humanity was finally coming home. But Jake Morrison knew that the hardest part was just beginning. Outside, the viewports, Earth grew slowly larger. Soon, very soon, the Zephyrians would learn that humans had returned. And this time, they were not running away. Lieutenant Commander Kate Rivers crouched behind a pile of broken concrete and checked her scanner one more time. The readings were clear. No Zephyrian patrols in the area. She signaled to her team of 6 soldiers, and they moved carefully through. The ruins of what had once been Chicago. 3 days had passed since the scout ships had landed on Earth. Kate's team was the first to make it to the surface without being detected. What they found was not what anyone had expected. The city was still there, but it looked completely different. Tall, twisted spires made of some kind of crystal material rose up between the old human buildings. Strange purple lights glowed from windows that had once been normal glass. The streets were filled with creatures that Kate recognized from the history books, Zephyrians. Commander, I'm picking up human life signs 2 blocks north of here, whispered Sergeant Mike Torres. He was the team's technical specialist and one of the best soldiers Kate had ever worked with. Kate nodded and led her team through the shadows. The Zephyrians walking the streets looked relaxed and peaceful. They didn't seem to be expecting any kind of trouble. Some of them were even laughing as they talked to each other. It was strange to see the enemies of humanity acting so normal. After 20 minutes of careful movement, the team reached their destination. It was an old subway entrance that had been sealed with metal plates. But Kate's scanner showed that there were definitely humans somewhere below ground. Torres, can you get us through? Kate asked. The sergeant pulled out a small device that looked like a pen. He pointed it at the metal plates, and they began to dissolve silently. Within minutes, there was a hole large enough for the team to climb through. The tunnel below was dark and smelled like old water. Kate turned on her night vision and saw that the subway tracks were still there, but they were covered with dirt and rust. The team moved carefully down the tunnel for about half a mile before they saw a faint light ahead. Stop right there, said a voice from the darkness. Don't move or we'll shoot. Kate raised her hands slowly. We're humans, she called out. We're here to help." A figure stepped out of the shadows. It was a woman with dark hair and bright eyes. She was holding an old laser rifle that looked like it had been built from spare parts. Behind her, Kate could see more people emerging from hidden spots along the tunnel walls. "You're lying," the woman said. "All the humans are dead. The Zephyrians killed them all 3,000 years ago." "No," Kate said gently. "Some of us escaped. We've been living in space, waiting for the right time to come back. I'm Lieutenant Commander Kate Rivers of the New Horizon." The woman's eyes went wide. She lowered her weapon slowly. "You're really human? You're from the stars?" Kate nodded. "We've come home. We're here to free Earth." The woman looked at Kate for a long moment, then she began to cry. "My name is Elena Cross. Welcome back." Elena led Kate's team deeper into the underground tunnels. The hidden passages went on for miles beneath the city. Thousands of humans were living down there in small communities. They had gardens growing under artificial lights and workshops where they built tools and weapons. "We've been hiding down here for generations," Elena explained as they walked. "My great-great-grandmother was one of the first to go underground when the Zephyrians came. She taught her children how to survive, and they taught their children." Kate was amazed by what she saw. These humans had managed to keep their culture alive for 3,000 years. They had schools where children learned about the old world. They had libraries full of books about human history. They even had art and music. "How many of you are there?" Kate asked. "Maybe 2 million spread across the whole planet," Elena said. "We have hidden cities under most of the major population centers. The Zephyrians don't know we exist." "But how? Do you survive? Don't you need food and supplies?" Elena smiled sadly. "We work for them. During the day, many of us go up to the surface and do jobs for the Zephyrians. They think we're a servant race that they created in their laboratories. They don't realize we're the original humans." Kate felt anger burning in her chest. The humans on Earth had been turned into slaves. For 3,000 years, they had been forced to serve the aliens who had destroyed their world. "Elena, we need to get a message to Captain Morrison," Kate said. "He needs to know about this." "Who's Captain Morrison?" "He's the leader of our fleet. We have ships in orbit right now, getting ready to attack the Zephyrians." Elena grabbed Kate's arm. "Attack? You can't attack. If you start a war, the Zephyrians will kill all of us down here. They have weapons that can destroy entire underground cities." Kate felt her heart sink. The plan had been to hit the Zephyrians hard and fast before they could organize a defense. But now everything was different. Any attack might result in the deaths of millions of innocent humans. "We have to find another way," Kate said. Meanwhile, back on the New Horizon, Communications Officer Ryan Bell was monitoring Zephyrian transmissions. He had learned their language during the long journey to Earth, and what he was hearing made him very worried. "Captain Morrison, you need to hear this," Bell called out as Jake entered the communications center. Bell played back a recording of a Zephyrian military broadcast. Even though Jake couldn't understand the words, he could tell from Bell's expression that it was bad news. "What are they saying?" Jake asked. "They're talking about something called the final harvest," Bell explained. "From what I can understand, they're planning to move all the remaining humans to mining colonies in other star systems. After that, they want to change Earth's atmosphere to make it more suitable for Zephyrian life." Jake felt his blood turn. "Cold. When?" "Soon, sir. They're already preparing transport ships." Dr. Walsh entered the room at that moment. He had been analyzing data from the scout missions. "Captain, I've made a discovery that changes everything. Many of the Zephyrians living on Earth have never seen a real war. Their history books say that humans became extinct naturally. They don't know about the invasion." Jake sat down heavily in a chair. The situation was getting more complicated by the hour. His original plan had been to destroy the Zephyrian fleet and bombard their cities from orbit. But now he knew that millions of innocent humans were living on Earth as slaves. And many of the Zephyrians themselves didn't even know about the crimes their ancestors had committed. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from Commander Rivers," Bell announced. Kate's voice came through the speakers, distorted by the distance and interference. "Captain, I've made contact with human survivors on Earth. There are millions of them, living underground. They're being used as slaves by the Zephyrians. Any orbital bombardment would kill them all." Jake closed his eyes and tried to think. 3,000 years of planning and preparation had led to this moment. But the situation on Earth was nothing like what they had expected. How could they free their people without becoming the very monsters they had come to fight? "Commander Rivers," Jake said into the microphone, "can the underground humans help us?" "Yes, sir. They know the Zephyrian cities better than anyone. They know where the important buildings are and how to move around without being detected. But, Captain, they're scared. They've been hiding for so long that they're afraid to fight." Back, Jake made his decision. "Rivers, tell them that the hiding is over. Tell them that humanity has returned, and it's time to take back our world. But we're going to do it smart. No more innocent deaths. We're going to win this war with our brains, not just our weapons." The plan was changing, but Jake Morrison was determined to succeed. Earth would be free, but it would be free the right way. Admiral Ben Clark stood on the command deck of Terra's Wrath and watched the tactical display. 12 human fleets had arrived at Earth, and they were all in position. After 3,000 years of waiting, it was time to announce to the galaxy that humanity had returned. "All ships report ready, Admiral," said Captain Morrison over the communication system from the New Horizon. Clark nodded to his communications officer. "Open a channel to every inhabited world in known space. It's time to make our announcement." The message went out across the galaxy on every frequency that the human ships could reach. Clark's voice was calm but strong as he spoke words that had been planned for centuries. "This is Admiral Ben Clark of the Human Defense Fleet. 3,000 years ago, our people were driven from Earth by the Zephyrian Empire. Today, we have returned. To all species who have suffered under Zephyrian rule, know that the age of their dominance is ending. Humanity is back among the stars." As soon as the message ended, warning alarms began to sound throughout the Zephyrian Defense Fleet orbiting Earth. Ships that had been floating peacefully in space suddenly came alive with activity. The aliens had not expected this day to come, but the humans were ready. Captain Morrison led the New Horizon and 5 other ships against the Zephyrian fleet above Earth's North Pole. The enemy ships were large and powerful, but they moved slowly and used old fighting tactics. The human ships were smaller, but much faster. Their adaptive AI systems learned the Zephyrian attack patterns within minutes and began to counter every move the aliens made. Quantum torpedoes fired from the human ships passed right through the Zephyrian shields like they weren't even there. "Their defensive systems can't handle our new weapons," reported Commander Brady from her tactical station. "We're cutting through them like paper." On Earth's moon, Commander Alex Stone was leading a different kind of battle. He had taken 3,000 Marines in assault ships to capture the Zephyrian mining bases. The aliens had been using the moon's resources for centuries, but they had never expected to defend them from attack. Stone's Marines moved through the mining tunnels with perfect coordination. Their Neuralink combat systems allowed them to share thoughts and plan attacks without speaking. When one Marine saw an enemy, they all knew about it instantly. "Base 7 is secure," Stone reported over his radio. "The Zephyrians here surrendered as soon as they saw us. I don't think most of them have ever been in a real fight." Down on Earth's surface, Alina Cross was coordinating the biggest uprising in 3,000 years. Humans were emerging from their underground hiding places in every major city. They had weapons that they had been building in secret for generations, and they knew exactly where to strike in London. A team of underground humans disabled the main Zephyrian communication center. In Tokyo, another group took control of the transportation system. In New York, Elena herself led an attack on the planetary government building. The Zephyrians on Earth were completely unprepared for this kind of coordinated assault. Most of them had never seen humans fight back. They had always thought of humans as a peaceful servant race that could be easily controlled. All major cities are reporting successful operations, Elena said into her communicator. The Zephyrians are retreating to their defensive positions, but we control most of the infrastructure. But the victory was not without cost. In some cities, Zephyrian security forces fought back hard. Human civilians were caught in the crossfire, and many underground communities were damaged by the fighting. Dr. Walsh, monitoring the situation from the New Horizon, made a disturbing discovery while analyzing captured Zephyrian computer files. He called Captain Morrison immediately. "Jake, you need to see this," Walsh said urgently. "I've been going through their historical archives. The Zephyrians didn't invade Earth just because they wanted our planet. They were afraid of something." "Afraid? Of what?" Morrison asked. "U.S. There are records here about an ancient prophecy. Something about a returning storm that would challenge the cosmic order. They drove humans from Earth because they believed we were the storm the prophecy was talking about." Morrison felt a chill run down his spine. "What else does it say?" "Jake, they have a weapon. Something they've been hiding in Earth's core for 3,000 years. If they think they're going to lose the planet, they'll use it. And according to these files, it's powerful enough to crack the planet in half." At that moment, emergency alarms began sounding throughout the Zephyrian capital city. Supreme Controller Vex Thara, the leader of the Zephyrian forces on Earth, had made a terrible decision. Rather than surrender the planet to the returning humans, she would destroy it completely. Deep beneath the surface of the Earth, ancient machines that had been sleeping for millennia began to wake up. The weapon in the planet's core started to charge, drawing energy from the molten rock and metal around it. Kate Rivers, who was still working with Alana's people on the surface, felt the ground shake beneath her feet. "Elena, what's happening? Is this an earthquake?" Elena checked her underground monitoring systems, and her face went pale. "No, this is much worse. The Zephyrians are activating something. Our deep sensors are detecting massive energy buildups all over the planet." Morrison's voice came over Kate's radio, filled with urgency. "All ground teams, we've discovered that the Zephyrians have a planet-killer weapon. We're detecting massive energy signatures from Earth's core. You need to find a way to stop it." The battle in space had been going well for the humans, but now everything had changed. Admiral Clark ordered all ships to focus their firepower on the Zephyrian command vessels, hoping to stop them from completing whatever they were doing to Earth. But Supreme Controller Vex Thara was determined to deny the humans their victory. From her underground bunker, she watched the weapon charge to full power. In her mind, it was better to destroy Earth than to let the humans have it back. "The weapon will be ready to fire in 6 hours," she announced to her remaining forces. "If we cannot keep this world, then no one can have it." On the surface, the ground continued to shake as the ancient weapon drew more and more power from the planet's core. Cracks began to appear in buildings, and the underground human communities reported that their tunnels were becoming unstable. Elena looked at Kate with fear in her eyes. "Commander, if that weapon fires, it won't just destroy the surface. It will tear the whole planet apart. Everyone will die. Humans, Zephyrians, everyone." Kate grabbed her radio. "Captain Morrison, we need to get to that weapon." Alana's people know the underground tunnels better than anyone. We can reach the planets. Core through the old mining shafts. Morrison's response was immediate. Do it. Take whoever you need and stop that weapon. The fleet will keep the Zephyrians busy up here. As Kate and Elena began to organize their desperate mission to save Earth, the battle in space reached a new level of intensity. The humans had technological superiority, but the Zephyrians were fighting with the fury of a desperate enemy. Admiral Clark watched his tactical display and realized that time was running out. The weapon in Earth's core was building to critical levels, and soon it would be too late to stop it. All ships, concentrate fire on the Zephyrian command structure, he ordered. We have to stop them from completing their countdown. The fate of Earth and everyone on it now depended on a race against time. Could Kate Rivers and Elena Cross reach the weapon in time to stop it? Could the human fleet defeat the Zephyrian defenses before the planet was destroyed? The returning storm that the ancient prophecy had spoken of was finally here, but no one could predict how it would end. The ground beneath Chicago was shaking so hard that Kate Rivers could barely stand. She followed Elena Cross through a maze of underground tunnels that seemed to go on forever. Behind them, a team of 12 human soldiers carried equipment that Dr. Walsh had designed to disable the planet-killer weapon. How much farther? Kate shouted over the rumbling noise that filled the tunnels. We're almost there, Elena replied, checking a handheld device that showed their position. The old mining shaft that leads to the planet's core is just ahead. Above them, the battle for Earth continued. Captain Morrison watched from the bridge of the New Horizon as Admiral Clark led the Terras Wrath into direct combat with the largest Zephyrian ships. The human vessels were faster and smarter, but the aliens had more firepower. Admiral, the energy readings from Earth's core are increasing, reported Morrison. Whatever that weapon is, it's almost ready to fire. Clark's voice came back over the radio, strained with effort. Jake, we're going to ram the Zephyrian command ship. Maybe if we can destroy their control center, we can stop the weapon. Sir, that's suicide, Morrison protested. Maybe, but it's the only way. Take care of our people, Jake. Make sure they remember what we died for. Morrison watched in horror as the Terra's Wrath changed course and headed straight for the massive Zephyrian vessel. The enemy ship fired everything it had at the approaching human flagship, but Clark's ship kept coming. The impact was visible from thousands of miles away. Both ships exploded in a ball of light that briefly outshone the sun. The explosion created a strange ripple in space that spread outward like waves on a pond. Admiral, Morrison called into his radio, but there was no response. Ben Clark and everyone aboard the Terra's Wrath were gone, but Clark's sacrifice had not been in vain. The strange ripple effect from the explosion had somehow interfered with the signals going to Earth's core. The planet-killer weapons charging sequence slowed down, giving Kate's team the time they needed. In the underground tunnels, Kate felt the shaking decrease slightly. Elena, something's happened. The weapon isn't building power as fast as it was. Good, because we're here, Elena said, pointing ahead to where the tunnel opened into a massive vertical shaft. Far below, they could see a red glow that seemed to come from the center of the Earth itself. Kate looked down the shaft and felt her stomach drop. It was at least 2 miles straight down, and the walls were glowing with heat. How do we get down there? Elena smiled and pointed to an old elevator platform. The Zephyrians built this to access their deep mining operations. It still works, but the trip down takes about an hour. As the team descended into Earth's core, the battle on the surface continued. Commander Stone had taken control of most of the Zephyrian military bases on the moon, but he had been wounded in the fighting. A Zephyrian energy blast had hit him in the chest, and his armor was barely keeping him alive. "Stone, report your status," Morrison called over the radio. "I'm alive, but I won't be for much longer," Stone replied weakly. "Jake, the Zephyrians here have surrendered. They're scared out of their minds. Most of them never even knew that humans were intelligent beings. They thought we were just animals." Stone managed to activate the moon's communication array and began broadcasting the true story of humanity's exile to every corner of the galaxy. His message told the story of how the Zephyrians had destroyed human civilization and enslaved the survivors. "People of the galaxy," Stone said into the transmitter, "you need to know the truth. The Zephyrians have been lying to you for 3,000 years. They committed genocide against the human race, and they've been using our people as slaves ever since." The message spread quickly through space, reaching dozens of different alien species. Many of them had suffered under Zephyrian rule themselves, and they had never known the full extent of the Empire's crimes. On planets throughout Zephyrian space, rebellions began to break out. Species that had been oppressed for centuries suddenly saw hope for freedom. The return of humanity had become the spark that lit a galaxy-wide revolution. But deep in Earth's core, Kate and Elena faced their greatest challenge yet. The elevator had taken them to a vast underground chamber filled with machines that were older than human civilization. The planet-killer weapon was a massive crystal structure that pulsed with deadly energy. "My God," whispered Dr. Walsh's voice over Kate's radio. She was wearing a camera that transmitted everything she saw back to the New Horizon. "That technology is ancient. It's not even Zephyrian. It must be from some race that existed before any of us." Kate approached the weapon carefully. The heat was intense, and her environmental suit was barely protecting her from the radiation. "Doctor, how do I stop this thing?" "There should be a control panel somewhere near the base of the crystal structure. Look for symbols that look like mathematical equations." Elena pointed to a section of the chamber wall where strange markings glowed with blue light. "Over there. Those symbols match descriptions from our oldest historical records." As Kate worked to understand the alien controls, Walsh made a shocking discovery from his analysis of the weapon's energy patterns. "Kate, this weapon isn't designed to destroy planets. It's designed to protect them." "What do you mean?" Kate asked, her hands hovering over the control panel. "The energy readings show that this device has been stabilizing Earth's magnetic field for thousands of years. The Zephyrians weren't trying to destroy Earth with it. They were trying to save it from a natural disaster." Kate felt her world turn upside down. "Are you saying that without this weapon, Earth will die anyway?" "I'm afraid so. The planet's magnetic field is artificial. Without this device, Earth will gradually become uninhabitable. The atmosphere will drift away into space over the course of a few centuries." Elena looked at Kate with confusion and fear. "So if we stop the weapon, we save Earth from being destroyed today, but we doom it to a slow death later?" Kate stared at the control panel, knowing that millions of lives depended on her decision. If she left the weapon running, it would fire in less than an hour and crack the planet apart. But if she stopped it, Earth would slowly die over the next few hundred years. "Dr. Walsh, is there a third option?" she asked desperately. "Maybe. The weapon's power output can be adjusted. If you can change the settings, we might be able to use it to stabilize the planet without destroying it. But Kate, you'll have to figure out alien mathematics that's thousands of years old." Kate took a deep breath and began working with the controls. Elena helped by translating some of the symbols using knowledge that had been passed down through generations of underground humans. As they worked, the weapon's charging sequence continued. If they made a mistake, everyone on Earth would die. But if they did nothing, everyone would die anyway. Above them, Captain Morrison positioned the new horizon between Earth and space, ready to absorb as much of the weapon's energy as possible if Kate's mission failed. He knew it would mean the death of everyone on his ship, but it might give the people on Earth a few more minutes to escape. "Kate, whatever you're going to do it now," Morrison said into his radio. "The weapon is approaching critical levels." Kate's hands moved over the alien controls as Elena read out the meanings of the ancient symbols. With seconds to spare, Kate made her final adjustments and activated the new program dot. The massive crystal structure pulsed once with blinding light, then settled into a steady, gentle glow. The shaking stopped, and the chamber became quiet. "It worked," Kate said, hardly believing it herself. "The weapon is now running at minimum power. It will keep Earth's magnetic field stable without threatening the planet." Dr. Walsh's excited voice came over the radio. "Kate, you've done something incredible. You've not only saved Earth from destruction, but you've learned how to control technology that's beyond anything we've ever seen." But the victory came with a sobering realization. Earth was safe, but it would never be the same. The planet that humanity had dreamed of returning to for 3,000 years was dependent on alien technology to survive. As Kate and Elena began their long journey back to the surface, they knew that the real work was just beginning. Earth was free, but humanity faced hard choices about what kind of future they wanted to build on their ancient home. 6 months after the liberation of Earth, Captain Jake Morrison stood in what used to be Central Park in New York City. The grass was growing back slowly, and workers were planting new trees where the old ones had died. It was a beautiful spring morning, and for the first time in his life, Jake was breathing natural air from the planet where his ancestors had been born. The war was over, but the work of rebuilding had just begun. Jake was now the military governor of Earth, a job he had never wanted but felt he had to accept. Every day brought new challenges as humans and Zephyrians learned to live together on the same world. "Governor Morrison," called a voice behind him. Jake turned to see Elena Cross approaching with a folder of documents in her hand. She had been elected as Earth's first prime minister 3 months ago, representing both the returning humans from space and the underground humans who had never left. "Elena, I've told you before. Just call me Jake," he said with a smile. "What's on the schedule today?" "The refugee situation is getting better," Elena reported. "We've set up camps for the Zephyrians who chose to stay on Earth instead of returning to their home planets. Most of them are families with children who were born here. They consider Earth their home too." Jake nodded. It had been one of the hardest decisions of the post-war period. Many humans wanted all Zephyrians to leave Earth immediately, but Jake and Elena had argued for compassion. The Zephyrians who remained were mostly civilians who had nothing to do with the original invasion. "Any problems with integration?" Jake asked. "Some. There are still humans who don't trust any Zephyrians, and there are Zephyrians who don't understand why they're not in charge anymore. But overall, it's working. The children adapt the fastest. Human and Zephyrian kids are already playing together in some of the refugee camps." They walked together toward the temporary government building that had been set up near the ruins of the old United Nations headquarters. Along the way, they passed construction crews working to repair damage from the war. Most of the workers were humans, but Jake was pleased to see some Zephyrians helping with the rebuilding effort. Inside the government building, Dr. Peter Walsh was waiting with his latest report on the planet's environmental situation. The brilliant scientist had become Earth's leading expert on the ancient technology that kept the planet's magnetic field stable. "Jake, Elena, I have some good news and some challenging news," Walsh said as they entered his office. "Give us the good news first," Elena said. "We figured out how to reverse the terraforming process that the Zephyrians started 3,000 years ago. We can restore Earth's original climate and ecosystem. The bad news is that it will take about 200 years to complete, and We'll need to work closely with Zephyrian scientists who understand their terraforming technology. Jake sat down and rubbed his temples. Every solution seemed to create new problems. What about the magnetic field device? That's actually more good news. We've learned enough about it to build smaller versions. We can use the technology to protect other planets and even space stations. It could revolutionize how we explore and colonize space. A communication device on Walsh's desk beeped with an incoming message. The voice that came through was Admiral Nenia Parks, who had taken command of the human fleet after Admiral Clark's sacrifice. Governor Morrison, I'm calling from the edge of the solar system. We have visitors. Jake activated the video link and saw Parks on the bridge of her ship. Behind her, the view screen showed several alien vessels approaching Earth. Who are they? Jake asked. Representatives from about 20 different species, Parks replied. They all want to meet with the humans, who started the galaxy-wide revolution. Word has spread about what happened here, and a lot of oppressed peoples want to form an alliance with us. Elena looked excited. This could be the beginning of something amazing. A galactic community based on freedom instead of domination. But Jake was more cautious. Admiral, what's our defensive situation? We're in good shape. Commander Stone has recovered from his injuries and is setting up the new planetary defense system. We have early warning stations throughout the solar system, and our technology is still more advanced than anything else in the galaxy. Jake thought about Alex Stone, who had spent months in a medical facility recovering from his wounds on the moon. His old friend had refused to retire and was now in charge of making sure that Earth could never be conquered again. Admiral, allow the alien representatives to approach, but keep our defenses ready, Jake ordered. We'll meet with them, but we're not going to be naive about it. After ending the communication, Jake walked to the window and looked out at the city. Construction robots were working alongside human and Zephyrian crews to rebuild the skyline. In the distance, he could see one of the massive transport ships that was taking Zephyrians who wanted to leave back to their home planets. Elena, do you think we made the right choices? Jake asked. Which choices? She replied. All of them. Coming back to Earth, fighting the war, trying to rebuild instead of just taking revenge. Elena joined him at the window. Jake, 6 months. Go. My people were living in tunnels like animals. Today, human children are playing in parks under an open sky. Zephyrian families are learning to live peacefully with their former slaves. And the galaxy is finally free from an empire that had ruled for thousands of years. I think we made the right choices. A young aide entered the office with another urgent message. Governor, Dr. Walsh, we're receiving a transmission from the Perth Stream. Captain Roberts wants to speak with you immediately. The Perth's Dream was one of the other human colony ships that had participated in the liberation of Earth. Jake wondered what could be so urgent. Captain Linda Roberts appeared on the video screen, looking excited. Jake, we've made an incredible discovery. While exploring one of the outer planets, we found ruins that are even older than the magnetic field device. This whole solar system was once home to an advanced civilization that disappeared millions of years ago. Dr. Walsh leaned forward with intense interest. Captain, can you send us your findings? Already done. But here's the really amazing art. The ruins contain star maps, showing the locations of other ancient sites throughout the galaxy. We might have found the key to technologies that are beyond anything any current species has developed. Jake felt a mixture of excitement and worry. Humanity had just finished one war, and now they were discovering secrets that could change the balance of power in the galaxy once again. Captain Roberts, secure the site and don't share this information with anyone else yet, Jake ordered. We need to be very careful about how we handle this. As the transmission ended, Elena looked at Jake with concern. More ancient technology could be dangerous. Look what the magnetic field device nearly caused. Or it could be exactly what we need to build a better future, Walsh said. Imagine if we could use advanced technology to restore damaged planets, or to explore parts of the galaxy that no one has ever seen. Jake walked back to the window and looked up at the sky. Somewhere out there, alien ships were approaching Earth with requests for alliance and friendship. Other human ships were discovering ancient mysteries that could reshape civilization. And on Earth itself, former enemies were learning to work together to build something new. 3,000 years ago, humanity had been driven from their home world as refugees. Today, they had returned as liberators and were being asked to lead a new galactic community. The responsibility was enormous, but Jake Morrison knew that his people were ready for it. As the sun set over New York City, Jake made a decision about the message he would send to all the human colonies scattered across the galaxy. "This is Earth calling," he said into the communication array that would carry his words to the stars. "We have returned. We remember our past, but we're not prisoners of it. We fought for our freedom, and now we'll fight for everyone's freedom. To all species who dream of peace, know that you have allies among the stars. And to those who would oppress others, know that humanity is watching." Jake ended the transmission and walked outside into the evening air. Children were playing in the park, human children and Zephyrian children together, laughing as they chased each other around the newly planted trees. The future was uncertain, but it was full of possibilities. Earth was home again, but humanity had learned that home was not just a place. It was something you built with courage, compassion, and hope. As Jake Morrison looked up at the stars appearing in the darkening sky, he knew that the greatest adventures for humanity were still ahead of them. They had returned to Earth, but their destiny lay among the stars.